And a good afternoon to you. It is 3 o'clock now. Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley with you here in the News 2 studio, and we're tracking some heavier weather moving in later on today. Right now, everything is about fine across our area, but especially as we get closer to that evening time frame, especially after 8 o'clock or so, all the way through midnight, maybe even a little beyond. That's when we're expecting more showers and storms to kind of pop up, more so than we've seen the last couple of days. And in that case, widespread showers and thunderstorms will bring the risk, maybe a damaging wind gust here or there, but primarily we're looking at the risk of flooding. I think that's our biggest concern in any areas that get a heavier storm that might sit there a while, or if you get a couple of different rounds of storms, time after time after time. That's when you can get into some trouble when it comes to flooding. So that's what we're watching. The time frame is basically from right about now, 3 o'clock, all the way through midnight tonight. So let's watch that together here. And what you need to do, make sure, obviously never drive through flooded roadways. That's kind of a baseline for this, of course. But also keeping that News 2 app pretty close by can be very handy, because that's where you find the interactive radar that you can take with you on the go. You keep it in your pocket. It's useless if you don't check it, so you've got to make sure you pop it open and at least hit refresh a little time after time. What I do is I open it up and basically have access to this radar the same as we show you right now. Every hour it's good to check it, see where the storms are popping up, hit that play button so that you can watch them and see if they're moving toward you or away from you. This is the live radar at 3 o'clock. So far, lots of action going on in our foothill communities, not so much here in our Triad cities so far. But this is just early in this event, and I really think it'll be until about 7, 8, 9 o'clock tonight that we start to see some action coming in closer. Right now, we do have a little bit of rain in parts of the area, though. We're able to capture that for you on our Burlington weather camera right now. Obviously, it looks a little hazy, but what happened is they just went through a little bit of a downpour. It didn't last that long, but there was a little bit of a shower. Dropped the temperature a little bit too, going from around 90 degrees at last hour down to about 82 at this hour. We can show this to you as well. So if I step out of the way, what you'll notice, see that haziness on the left-hand side? Well, that's not a cloud, that's rain that you're seeing connecting from the cloud to the ground. That's falling very quickly. And when we move it ahead, you'll notice how it kind of moves closer, closer, closer. And sure enough, there comes that water right toward the camera. Now that's not going to give you any flooding. It lasted about 10 minutes at most. So that's just a preview of maybe some more thunderstorms that'll start to pop up later on today. Looking at High Point, you've been dry so far this afternoon, and all of these are just puffy fair weather clouds at the moment. What you do want to watch for on a day like today are any clouds that could grow very tall. Those taller clouds can develop into thunderstorms, and when they get darker, of course, that's another warning sign too. So let's watch all of those factors over the next couple of days. Upper 80s right now. Winston-Salem, you're looking fine too. 90 degrees, your current temperature. It does feel like 96. The dew point is 71. So there's a lot of humidity to go in the air today, just as we've been used to. Still that air you can wear kind of a feel with the tropical level of humidity. Partly cloudy skies up the border in Danville, Virginia. There's the beautiful Dan River right there. And you'll notice nothing all that bad is happening. It's actually a beautiful summertime day. On the mountain side of things, they have been seeing more showers and storms, and boy, is this a cool view. Check this out here. We're looking at Asheville. You'll notice the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains there in the distance. Not raining over here. It is raining over there. That's something to see, isn't it? And it sure looks to be a heavier shower too, because it really limits the visibility. You're no longer able to see the line of the elevation of the mountains anymore, and it kind of blocks the view of the city as well. So this is the kind of rain that we could see more and more of developing into the late afternoon, but especially closer toward this evening. Remember, flood threat is what we're looking at more so than severe storm threat. Even though it's hot and humid, a couple factors in the atmosphere today are going to make it difficult for any sort of high winds to develop, and there's no threat of hail, there's no threat of tornadoes either. That's kind of the good news that we have for you. There's that latest live radar again, and what we can do now is we can kind of track some of these casually on the fly for you, just to kind of give you a heads up of where these are popping up and where they're fizzling out. So let's start things off in Guilford County. I do have a little bit of a shower to track for you. Actually, as we zoom in, we get a little bit more detail, don't we? So let's pause this here. I'll start out in the city of Greensboro. And these can form truly within about 2 to 5 minutes. So there's not a lot of warning when they first get going, first start popping up. So to set your stage, there's downtown Greensboro right here. That is Wendover Avenue. Here's Cone Boulevard. That's Battleground, and there's Benjamin Parkway going out toward the airport, and here's Friendly. So this is really kind of centered right over about Friendly Center or of sorts, or maybe closer to West Ridge, I guess. If we zoom in a little bit more to this specific downpour, this is really coming down on right where Benjamin Parkway splits off with Bryan Boulevard. So Friendly Center will be right over about here. There's over by Battleground and the Texas Roadhouse, all those kind of places. Downpour rain, that's happening at the moment. But as soon as we track it, it looks like it's getting a little bit weaker. Right now it's moved over at the latest scan right here all along Cone Boulevard. Not as heavy as it once was, moving over closer toward Buffalo Lake. So that's one shower that's popped up in Guilford County. Just keep the rain gear handy because you could get very soaked very quickly. Another one that we're watching, this is down on 85, pretty close to the Grandover, right about there. Very heavy rainfall with this. These are all moving southwest to northeast. So if we kind of step through this back a couple of frames, you'll notice as it goes back, we start to see it moving in this general direction. So it's going to be making its way very close to Wet and Wild, which is right about here, and then over closer to that Walmart on 85 on the southern end of Elm Eugene. So that's kind of where that downpour is moving through. And what we can also do with storms like this, kind of take a 3D view of them instead of just a 2D view. So let's take a slice out of this using our tools here. This is a pretty shallow, weak thunderstorm at the moment. It's not even a thunderstorm, I should say. We haven't found lightning just yet, but it's a shallow one, only about 10,000 feet. And you might hear me say that and think, well, that's not small. 10,000 sounds really, really tall. Well, most big and bad thunderstorms are about 30, even 40,000 feet tall. So that's a pretty small one, but it could grow a little bit as we go throughout the day. The wider view picture here does show a back edge to this system. This is part of a cold front. This is not a random pop-up storm day like some days have been. This is a bit more focused. There's a little bit more forcing to kind of organize some of these storms. So as this cold front gets a little bit closer, moving through Kentucky now, moving through Tennessee now, it'll be a late arrival to us. That's why we're kind of holding off this timing through the late evening tonight. Once that arrives, it should create more thunderstorms, and it should be able to cluster them together a little bit more than what we've been seeing so far. If you look very closely, there is at least one flash flood warning here in Kentucky right now. It's that little tiny green box right about here. Looks like they had a thunderstorm that started to create some flooding issues. If we go back to our local radar, there's a lot of action actually going on in the North Carolina mountains. So let's take a little bit of a closer view. This has been going on for at least an hour now. So we have some of those thunderstorms down near the Asheville area, but up here right around Watauga County, Boone, Blowing Rock, areas like that close to the Tennessee border, really heavy rain continuing. And this is now spreading into Wilkes County as well. And these are producing some lightning strikes at the moment. So these are the type of showers and storms that could get you into trouble today. Well, as we look at this is about, I guess, an hour view, about a 30-minute view even so. So they're not moving all that much, and they are putting down a good amount of rainfall from Boone to Blowing Rock, Banner Elk as well. Really, really tall thunderstorms here. We could give you a 3D view of these, and it probably tells a bit of a different story than what we were just looking at here at home in Guilford County. So sure enough, as you take a slice here, if you can see 30,000 feet, that would be the tall tops of those clouds. Those are really tall at the moment, and that's what can get you into trouble with a lot of rainfall. We do have some cameras up in the Blue Ridge area, so we can show you what's looking like on the ground. Let's take a look at Boone first. This camera, if you're familiar with Appalachian State, downtown Boone, this is right there on King Street. So let's just take a little view here. They're dealing with a big old soaking downpour right now. This is something that we could be seeing more of closer to dinner time, but especially after that time frame here at home. People just kind of rolling with it, right? Some of them have umbrellas, some of them don't. Sometimes you get caught in the middle of that rain shower, and that's the case right now up on the mountain in Boone this afternoon. Before that one goes freezing, let's take a look at Blowing Rock as well, which does also have a pretty nice camera right down on the main drag. We watched this together at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and it was really coming down. Now it looks to have let up a little bit, but the pavement still soaked as well. People are kind of dealing with it. Maybe they just were cooped up for about an hour and now they get to move about freely. That's nice. But there are those scattered downpours that don't always last that long, but they can leave a bit of an impact when they do. So let's kind of lay this threat out a little bit more for you. We'll go back to radar and I'm going to show you the different threat levels for today, for wind, for hail, tornadoes, and flooding. And that's a little bit of a trick question because we only have a couple of those threats for today. The main threat level, the severe weather risk for today, is just at a level 1. Typically, we don't do a weather alert for a level 1 severe weather risk because it's pretty common and it means you aren't likely to get all that many bad thunderstorms. So the threat of bad storms today isn't super high. If you were to have one, it wouldn't be producing hail, but it could produce a damaging wind gust or two. So we'll keep an eye on that. The only real risk for severe weather today would be from wind, not tornadoes, not hail, but from wind. Apart from those severe storm risks, though, is flooding. And that flood risk today is really the reason that we pulled that trigger on the alert. We are in the level 2 risk for flash flooding, and that's a level 2 out of 4. So fairly significant, something to watch for. And what it means is that a couple of things. You have heavy rain that's possible, but you could also have a couple thunderstorms that don't move all that much. So when you have a thunderstorm that just sits over the area and then it keeps raining and it keeps raining and it keeps raining, well, then you have yourself in a flood problem. So that's something we'll want to watch later on today. Slow moving storms or what we call training thunderstorms. What that means is if you have a line of storms that's just moving over the same area rather than moving along, that you can get into trouble. So you get hit by a storm, then you get hit by another storm, and there aren't very many breaks in that. That's when flash flooding can result. This doesn't mean that all of us will have that today, but it is something we want to keep an eye on until that cold front starts to kind of move past us. And that really won't happen until early tomorrow, in fact. So we still have a storm risk for tomorrow as well. Rain totals from today through tomorrow across our area. Well, most of us are in this lighter shade of blue category, which ranges from about 3/4 of an inch to about 1.25 inches. Some areas, of course, will get more. Some will get a little bit less. It's summertime. Not everybody gets the same amount. That's the way it is when you have thunderstorms as your main mode of convection. But let's take a look at this. Our forecast model shows some really nasty weather right around 8 to 9 o'clock. So this is where we could get into trouble later on this evening. So definitely start paying attention by about 7, closer to 8, 9, and 10 o'clock tonight. That's when those thunderstorms could get heavy. And notice there's another one. That's around midnight tonight. Then you could have some flood problems start to develop. Things will settle down a little bit, but rain, even some thunder, could linger through the night tonight. And then tomorrow, we're just kind of watching some leftovers. So a couple pop-ups are possible, but I wouldn't worry about too many of them. And then beyond Wednesday, things are starting to improve. And we actually have some really nice weather building in just in time for the 4th of July holiday. Let's take a look at another computer model. It's always good to get different opinions. You saw that one I just showed you. This one's a totally different operation from that. So it too has pretty quiet weather through about 8 o'clock, but after that point, many thunderstorms starting to develop, and then they continue through about 1 to 2 a.m. So it could be a little difficult for sleeping. You could have some of those flood problems that we mentioned developing. So once you get home, and if you want to stay home, that might be a nice option for tonight. This cold front does move through and kind of gives us some nicer weather by the end of the week. Wednesday, still worrying about a scattered shower or storm in our area, but Thursday and Friday looking to be drier, a little bit less humid, and a little bit less hot. That's what we're expecting for that finish to the weekend. An early look at the 4th of July holiday looks pretty nice as well. Over the next several days, rain totals are mostly going to be whatever you get today, and if you get anything more for tomorrow. This is kind of the outlook for rainfall. Anything left over tomorrow would likely be in the morning to the midday, and then afternoon wise, you're pretty much dry. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I gotta tell you, it's hard to guarantee dry weather this time of year, but it looks like we're close to doing it. As far as humidity goes, we've been really socked in with horrible humidity for a while. It should be getting a little bit better, a little bit less bad, let's say, with dew points in the 60s for the next couple of afternoons. We are watching also the tropics. If you have any beach plans, we'll keep an eye on this for you. I wouldn't cancel anything, but toward the weekend, there is at least some chance of tropical depression could form closer to Florida, maybe the Atlantic coast. They have upped the chance on that to about 30%. I've just got to update my graphic when I have a chance, but we are watching that and we'll let you know if anything comes of it. Here's your 7-day forecast as we take a look at the next couple of days. High temperatures in the mid 80s for tomorrow. There will be a chance of a couple late day showers and thunderstorms. As far as Thursday and Friday are concerned, a little bit hotter weather there. We should be in good shape to stay mostly dry though for Independence Day on Friday. As far as the weekend, overnight lows in the upper 60s, afternoon highs in the upper 80s. It's looking pretty good as of now to stay dry for your outdoor cookouts and activities. Hey, we've got the 4 o'clock news coming up for you in about 45 minutes. We'll see you there.